your backend and what deals you've negotiated. So every bit you can get into your pie at that point, of your slice of the pie, is pure profit for you. Multi-platform distribution, again, always I'm a big fan. Focus on Facebook. That's where, even with everything they've changed in virality, that's where the valuable growth is. But MySpace, High5, Orchid, there's tons of them. You can get into Europe, you can get into Asia and talk about Mixi in Japan, or talk about RenRen and QQ and all the ones in China. We use a social networking framework, which is a service that you call that abstracts the social network, so your game never actually communicates with Facebook, MySpace, High5, Orchid, any of these networks. That's great, because then, if it's like, hey, it's valuable to put this in Brazil on Orchid, even if it's just in English, it's literally, let's put it on Orchid in Brazil. And the game team just says, it's the same game. Let's focus on the game. Localization, again, if you're going to go heavy into Brazil, you need to talk about Portuguese and Spanish, and you need to have a local partner, and you need to find somebody who can help do that. Internally, we have our connections that we use for those things. And then user acquisition. There's best practices. They're all pretty logical. You A/B test stuff. You throw up some stuff at the beginning, see what's performing, and narrow down, and then create 200 more around that. What a lot of people don't know is, a typical large game can have 1,000 or 10,000 simultaneous ads running. Between combinations of images and copy and targeting, you're running so many campaigns that imagine trying to hash the data for those campaigns on a single game. It's kind of insane. There's no secret sauce to user acquisition. You find the ads that perform better, and you make more ads like that with small changes. And you find the one that, and it's a beginning, take a wide swath, and you're narrowing in on the right answer. And then customer support. One thing is making sure you can control your costs. On customer support, it's easy to have your COO of your 4-person startup in a garage answer the phone and do the emails at the beginning. But if you hit a vein of gold and you suddenly have 250,000 DAUs, you're going to have some issues, and you have to you have to be able to comply with Facebook's terms of service and your response time to billing inquiries and stuff like that. And honestly, your communities, once you get to a certain threshold, depending on the game, they can provide really valuable insights. You can see what they're clamoring for on the forums, and you want to pay attention to that. If you thought your game was going to be a collections game, and everybody who's monetizing, everybody's asking for a first-person shooter, turn it into a first-person shooter. Find out why they're asking it and address that. Make it a good game. Make it the game they want. Because at the end of the day, you're making the game for the masses. You're not making the game for yourself. I don't design games for me. I don't design games at all. I share leave that to Steve. But understand you're designing this for everybody, so you need to turn over some of that control of those people. And part of your job is just to understand what is it they're looking for, why are they looking for it, and how can I provide that for them better. And that was pretty much all I had. Just be aware, when I first started in social gaming, I thought, 90% is building the game, then you put it out there and do live services. And it'll feel that way until you're 2 weeks before shipping your game. Then you realize you're only halfway there. And then you'll ship your game, and you realize you're only a quarter of the way there. And you think, unlike console gaming where you put it on the shelf and it just, sales go up and then they kind of dip off like this, you're going to be in a situation where what you do once you ship your game and how you course correct over time is going to make a huge difference on whether yours is a good game with a couple 100,000 DAU or a good game with a couple million DAU. And that'll have a big difference for how your investors feel about you, for how everybody thinks about your game. So with that, questions for Steve, myself.
So we've about 5 minutes left, so please ask questions, and then after that we are going to have some people line up here, and again you have your 1 minute pitch on looking for a job. You're going to hire people. I think I heard Playdom is hiring, so maybe it's you might want to take a look at that company.
So Matthew, timing and pricing for the stuff you were talking about. When are you guys going to launch this?
Oh, we have this. We're not. Here's the deal with publishing. There's people out there looking to be kind of McDonald's of publishing and saying, we'll take anybody in. The way we look at it as Playdom is you need to have a really good game first, and it's not worth having a half-baked game and throwing a bunch behind it. So we're openly evaluating. Grab my card. Shoot me an email. Happy to talk with you guys about that stuff. This stuff is not incredibly difficult to build in. If you have a good team and you have a good game, you can implement this stuff in a week or two. So it's not hard to implement these things if your game is a good game that was well built and well designed. If it was built crappy, you're going to have a hard time.
I want to ask some questions because just like you need very, there's this camp between hardcore gamers and social gamers. Both camps spit on each other, kind of thing, right? So, but obviously the traditional game and MMOG and casual game, they're the big industry. 45 billion versus social game, couple billions kind of thing. So how you guys are so experienced. I want to ask, what will change to attract the hardcore guys over to the other camp? I mean, Steve, you're pretty good if you play social game. That's because you're trying to make money into it also. But, honestly, right? If you were a hardcore game, would you really, really play social game? I'm sorry. Second question is actually...
Let's answer the first one.
Okay, you can...
Otherwise, if you ask the second one now, I'll forget the first one. In fact, I've already forgotten it. Sorry. So my sense is with the sort of the hardcore casual split, is that a hardcore gamer will play all games. He'll play hardcore games, he'll play casual games, he'll play everything in the gray area in between. A casual gamer will generally only play casual games. So with the Facebook market, where we're sort of trying to address everyone, then, for the most part, we've been making casual games. But that said, I think you've really seen a movement over the past several months, 6 months, toward the appearance of some pretty hardcore game content on Facebook. Some examples are Warstorm, a collectible card game from Challenge Games in Texas, and Kingdoms of Camelot from Water Cooler here in the Bay Area, and another example is a game that we just released this week called Verdonia. And what's interesting about those games is, you're not going to see the same sort of DAUs for those games that you do for the more casual games, but on the other hand, they tend to make a lot more money per player. So, it's kind of a balance. And I think going forward, you're going to see more fractionalization of the social game market. And you're going to see companies going after some more niche-y kind of, subgroups within the whole spectrum of gaming, and less where companies are trying to address the whole Facebook market at once.
Right, versus the